Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome to your new favorite place on the internet. My name is Bella. I'll be your host for tonight, or today, or whenever you're watching this. Today, I thought like, hey, we're already halfway through 2024. I guess it's time to freak out a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's time to do the mid-year book freakout tag, which is this staple in the booktube community. I really love this book tag because it's a great way to look back on the year so far and all of the books that you've been reading, what have been the worst reads, what have been your new favorite books, new favorite authors. Like, there's so many things to think about. And it's also a great excuse to talk about reading stats, because if there is something that I love, is discussing my reading statistics throughout the year. I feel like I've already done 2 videos about it, but somehow it's just not enough. I just love going through the different graphs and different things that I've been keeping track of, especially this year, because I've been keeping up with the Google Sheets reading tracker that gives you so much information, and I am so excited to go through that. But before we can get into the reading stats, we have to answer some questions. So I hope you guys are ready to watch my 2024 book my 2024 mid-year book freakout tag. So far in 2024, I've read 84 books, and through these questions, we're going to be going through the worst reads of the year, the most disappointing ones, and also new favorites, books that made me cry, if I have any new fictional crushes. Like, it's going to be so good, and I'm so excited to talk about these books because there are some really incredible books that I just can't wait to talk about. So the very first question is the best book you've read so far in the year. I didn't even have to think about this one. Like, honestly, as soon as I read this question, I was like, oh my god, of course it's The Sunshine Court by Nora Sakavic. Like, there is literally no question about it. This is the best book that I will probably read in the entirety of 2024, and I'm not mad about that. The Sunshine Court is literally a perfect book for me because it has every single element that I love in storytelling. We have incredibly complex characters. We have such intricate and beautiful character relationships, like not only with themselves, but with each other as well. And the plot itself is also so engaging and so interesting, and we have like a little bit of tension. Of course, we have some sexual tension, but we also have like that personal trauma intensity that not a lot of people, or like not a lot of authors, know how to get just right. And I feel like Nora Sakavic, of course, she has written The Foxhole Court, so she knows a little bit about trauma. Like, it's just so good, you know what I mean? Like, the plot is so interesting and it keeps you on your toes, but then we also have the development of these characters that they've gone through so much, but they're still trying to live their lives. I have never really been an avid sports fan. I've never really like followed really intensely any of the sport related events, but if Xe were a real sport, best believe I would have the jersey. I would be in every single game. It would be an entire cult for me. I loved The Sunshine Court. It made me feel everything. I cried, I laughed, I was sobbing, like the good sobbing, but then also the bad sobbing. And I was falling in love with these characters. I was falling in love with them falling in love, and just seeing them develop as characters. It was just incredible. And if I could, I would read this book over and over again. I don't know when the sequel is coming out, which is honestly heartbreaking, but the fact that this book exists after so many years of us asking Nora for this, it's just like a dream come true, you know what I mean? And sometimes when a book series gets like a continuation years after, it's kind of scary because you think the author is just gonna ruin the original story. But Nora Sakavic, I never should have doubted her, because like, she is absolute perfection. She knows what she's doing. My god, this was such an incredible, perfect book. It was just so good. It was so good. Like, neither the English or Spanish vocabulary is enough for me to explain just how perfect this book is. But if you've never read The Foxhole Court by Nora Sakavic, you must. You simply must. Like, if there is anything that you ever take away from watching a video of mine, let it be that you have to read The Foxhole Court just so that you can read The Sunshine Court. But like, all of these books are so good. Like, they are all 5 stars in my life. Like, I love them and they have nothing wrong with them whatsoever. I do not accept criticism of these books. Yeah, so The Sunshine Court is definitely the best book that I've read in 2024. And if I'm being honest with myself, I think it's going to be the best book that I read through the entire year. And again, I'm not really mad about that. Like, if this is the best that I'm going to be reading in 2024, I can die happy. So the next question is the best sequel that you've read in 2024. And for this one, I actually can't make up my mind because I do have two very solid options. I just can't choose between them. And I feel like it's valid to mention both of these because one is a novel and the other one is a manga. So I feel like, you know, we have a little bit of the best of both worlds. The first book that I'm going to be mentioning for this question is He Who Drowned the World by Shelley Parker Chan. He Who Drowned the World is the sequel to She Who Became the Sun, all written by Shelley Parker Chan, a genius, a mastermind, if you will. And we are following this cast of characters that are so different from each other, and yet they complement each other so well. The intricacies and the politics of this world and this government and how things just sort of start to unravel, and the psychology behind the decisions of these characters are so interesting to analyze and to like try to understand, because sometimes your favorite character is going to do things that you don't approve of. Like, this is a book that definitely has a cast of only morally gray characters. And if you know me, you know I love morally gray characters, and I feel like that's why I had such a fun time reading this book, even though it was like really painful to read at times because these characters, they go through stuff. They go through really intense situations, and the way that Shelley Parker Chan writes about it, it just makes you feel like you're right there with them, and it feels like you're experiencing the same thing that these characters are experiencing. And in my opinion, that's a very hard thing to do. Like, to make a reader feel like they're inside the book with your characters, I think is an incredible gift that not a lot of authors have. So Shelley Parker Chan, they just know what they're doing, honestly. And the way that they decided to take this story, the places that they decided to take these characters, it was brilliant, honestly. And I had such an incredible time reading this book. Even though at times it was insane, it was just so como que fascinating. Yes, that's the word. It was so fascinating because this is such an incredible study of how far are people willing to go to get what they think they deserve or to get what they think they want. The female characters in this as well, they're so insane. Like, they are insane, but in the best way possible. And it was a crazy reading experience, but I loved it. And it's definitely one of the best sequels that I've read, not only in 2024, but just like in my life in general, which is insane. So I definitely had to mention this, but I can't only mention He Who Drowned the World because this year I also read Vinland Saga. This is book 2 of the deluxe edition, so technically it's not volume 2. This does include volumes 4, 5, and 6. And when I tell you that I literally could not stop reading this until I finished it, and look at the size of this, like the fact that I couldn't stop reading until I finished it is insane to me. But the story was just so good. There literally was no other alternative. I had to read this as fast as I could, while at the same time appreciating every single panel that there was to be seen. This has 642 pages. It was one of the best reading experiences that I've had all year because it just gripped me from the very first page. Actually, I didn't even think about it when I was picking these two books for this question, but it's so interesting how even though these two are so different from each other, they still kind of explore the same type of topics and they delve into the same human issues. Like, yeah, they both discuss the human condition in different ways, but they still tackle that same subject. And they also discuss what drives people to do things and what's right and what's wrong and what's morally correct. It's so interesting now that I think about it. It's so interesting that these two have so many things in common, and I chose them for the same question. That's crazy. But Vinland Saga, this is set in the Viking era, and we are following this character that's called Thorfinn as he is trying to avenge his father who was killed, period. Yeah, so his father was killed and now he's trying to avenge his death by killing the man that killed his father. We are following Thorfinn in this journey of revenge while also being in the middle of this intense war between, oh, just look at that. Just look at that. That is insane. Like, the author, who is it? Makoto Yukimura. he popped off, and I love him for that. I am so excited to continue this series because like I read book 1 and it was really, really good. I gave it 4.5 stars, but then I read this and I feel like I found my new favorite manga series. You know what I mean? It's like that feeling, like you just know that this is going to be huge in your life. And yeah, when I read this book, I was like, oh, this is it. This is it. This is when my life changes. So yeah, I just couldn't mention only one of these books because both of these were such incredible sequels. So there we go. Fantastic sequels. If you guys are looking for any new series to start, this would be a good place to go to. The next question is new release you haven't read yet but you really want to. And for this, I thought we could go to my Google Sheets reading tracker because there's actually this tab that's called anticipated releases, and I have organized it by the date that they were released. So as you can see, I do have a couple of books here that I still haven't read that are already released. For example, The Prisoner's Throne, which is definitely a book that I'm going to be reading very, very soon. And we also have Blue Sisters by Coco Malors. I have read a book by Coco Malors before. I think it's Cleopatra and Frankenstein. And I didn't like it. I thought it was going to be something and then it wasn't. And I was just very deeply disappointed. But I have been hearing some really incredible things about this new release. So I'm just excited to give this author a second chance and just see how I feel about it. And then of course, The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. I have to read it. It's Leigh Bardugo, okay? You don't ask questions, you just read whatever book Leigh Bardugo puts out. So yeah, the next question is kind of tied into this as well because it's most anticipated release for the second half of the year. So it's books that have not yet been released but you're still really excited to get to. So I do have a couple of anticipated releases here, but I think the very first one, and honestly the one that I am most excited about, is The Reckoning of Roku, which is okay, this is a new Avatar book. I don't know if you know this, but in recent years, we have been getting these Avatar books where we're following different avatars. So for example, we have a duology based on Kyoshi, and then we have another duology based on Avatar Yang Chen, and now we're getting a new duology based on Roku. And if you're a fan of Avatar The Last Airbender, I don't think I need to explain who Avatar Roku is. I just like, you know what I mean? Like, Avatar The Last Airbender is such a huge part of my life and my personality, and literally one of the things that never fails to bring me happiness and joy and everything good in life is just, it's all connected to Avatar The Last Airbender. And the fact that we're getting a new book, not only a new book set in the Avatar world, but a new book based on Avatar Roku, like, do I need to say more? I don't think I do. Next up is the biggest disappointment of 2024 so far, and honestly, like, I'm kind of sad that I'm going to be choosing this book for this question, but there's just no other bigger disappointment than Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. This is the sequel to Divine Rivals, and I read Divine Rivals last year. Absolutely adored it. I think I gave it like 4 stars, and Ruthless Vows was just not it. You know what I mean? Like, it was just not it. It didn't feel the same. Well, maybe it's just me. Maybe I changed. But honestly, I'm kind of tired of blaming myself. Just like, cause when I read Divine Rivals, I was so into it. I loved these characters. The world was so mysterious and so interesting and intricate. And there was like this whole thing with the gods. And we had our 2 main characters, and there were like these magical typewriters, and they were writing letters to each other. And it was just so romantic and beautiful and mysterious, and dark academia and academic rivals to lovers. Like, it was everything. And then Ruthless Vows, it just wasn't, you know, it kind of lost me because, I mean, I'm just gonna say it, I was bored, okay? I'm gonna be brave enough to admit that I was bored reading Ruthless Vows. Like, maybe it is a me thing, like maybe I just wasn't feeling this type of story when I picked it up. I'm sure Rebecca Ross is an incredible author. I know that because I read Divine Rivals, but I feel like it just didn't hit the same in Ruthless Vows. I don't know. Am I the only one that felt this way? Maybe it's like a 50-50 type of situation here. Like, it's 50% my fault, but also 50% the book's fault. And you know what, I'm just happy I get to move on from this book and I don't have to think about it again. So there we go. The biggest surprise. Okay, some of y'all are going to be really happy with the book that I chose for this, but the thing is, okay, listen, I also have 2 books for this. Okay, no. Okay, I have 1 book and then I have an honorable mention because it was a surprise, but it wasn't as big as the actual answer to this question. So the biggest surprise of 2024 so far has definitely been, oh my goodness, Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation. This was my very first Danmei novel and I don't like it, Bestie, it was not good. I wasn't having a good time. I was so confused. There was like so much going on and there were so many characters, or there was like a handful of characters and they each had like 5 different names and it was just so confusing and I was not vibing at all. Like I did not vibe with this. I was just like really disappointed because everybody had told me that it was such an incredible series and that I was going to fall in love with these characters and I was going to be simping over these characters, and I just didn't feel any of that. And when I made that clear, when I made my opinion public, a lot of people were very disappointed and they were very sad to hear that I didn't like their favorite book. This year, because a friend of mine read it and she actually loved it, I was like, maybe I was the problem. So I decided to give this book a second chance in 2024, and I mean, yeah, happy to say that I was the problem. I am the problem. This is why I'm thinking that maybe I was the problem when I read Ruthless Vows, because like, obviously I read an incredible book back when I guess I wasn't ready to read this book and I couldn't enjoy it. And now that I've given it a second chance, I actually really vibed with this book and I was like into the story. It wasn't as confusing as the first time, and I think it's because I have read so many other Danmei novels. I was kind of ready, or I was like, you know, I was prepared for what I was about to read, so I wasn't as disoriented as I was the first time around, and it was a lot easier to keep track of these characters when you kind of know what's going to happen already. So yeah, this was definitely the biggest surprise because I can't believe we went from a 2.5 to, I think it was like a 4-star. That is just insane to me. That is an insane leap for me. The honorable mention that I was talking about is actually Happy Place by Emily Henry. Look at this, look at that. That is gorgeous, I love that. So listen, I read Happy Place when it first came out. I read it as a buddy read with my Patreons, and I did not like it, which was insane to me because if there is one constant in my life is the fact that I love Emily Henry. So when I read a book written by Emily Henry and I did not like it, I was so shocked. I didn't feel like myself. I was like, what's wrong with me? Why didn't I like this? I mean, I say I didn't like it, but I ended up giving it 3 stars. It was okay. It wasn't an Emily Henry type of experience for me, and I was really upset. I was very heartbroken. After the experience that I had with Grandmaster, I was like, maybe I just didn't read Happy Place at a time where I could appreciate what this book was trying to do. So I decided to give it another chance, and lo and behold, it's now a 4.5 star. So again, a huge leap for me personally. I loved it. The story resonated a lot more with me because of the place that I am in my life right now. This was the biggest surprise of 2024, but I couldn't let this question pass without mentioning my character development in terms of Happy Place. So the next question is new favorite author, whether it be a debut author or new to me. Okay, so listen, I was looking through all of the books that I've read in 2024 so far, and I have read quite a lot of new authors, like for me, like they're new to me. But none of them have made me go like, oh my god, I have to read all of your other books now. You were incredible, you were a 5-star, you're a new favorite book type of thing. Like, I just don't think I've connected with a new author enough to call them a new favorite author. So yeah, I don't know. I really don't have a new favorite author. I think it's really hard for me to categorize an author as a favorite because it takes a lot for an author to become a favorite. I mean, I could do like an honorable mention, I guess, because I did read Shark Heart by Emily Habeck, and this was the very first book that I read by hers, and I loved this book. I don't know if I would read every single thing that they put out, but I had, like, it was good. And I also read How to End a Love Story by Yuling Huang. This was my very first book by hers. I don't know if this is actually her debut, but I also really enjoyed this. Like, it has a lot of tabs, as you can see, and it was just fun. I really enjoyed the way that she developed her characters and how rich their inner world was. Like, I love when authors take the time to truly develop a character that make it feel like they're a real person. So yeah, Yulin Kwong knows what's up in terms of character development. She's not a new favorite author, but I really enjoyed this book, so there we go, I guess. Like, I wouldn't say I have a new favorite author, but those two could be honorable mentions. The next question is new fictional character, and listen, it takes a lot. Okay, actually no, that's a lie. I was gonna say it takes a lot for me to simp over a new character, but then I thought back on every single thing that I start. I always have a crush on something, especially if it's like anime. You know, speaking of anime, my new fictional crush does come from a manga that I was so, oh my god, like, it's such a gift. It was literally a gift, but it's just such a gift in general, the fact that I got to read this. And the fact that this story means so much to me, and it's a sign of affection. And my new fictional crush is this man. This man, Itsumi Nagi. I think that's his name. Itsumi? Yes. Why am I struggling with pronouncing this man's name? But anyways, okay, like, he's like my new fictional crush, but also like I love them together. I wouldn't want him to be with me. I would like my man to act like this man, but esos son otros 500. So my new fictional crush, this man right here, but I love them together. Okay, don't get me wrong. I don't want to be, what's that called? A house wrecker. Thank you so much. I do not want to be a house wrecker, but just let the record show I love this man and I love them together. And then the other question is newest favorite character, and I guess I could say it's Yuki, that's her. I just love a sign of affection, you know what I mean? It's such a heartwarming and such a cozy and comfort type of manga story anime. I first saw it as an anime. It has 12 episodes, and I just completely devoured them. When I was watching this anime, it just felt like I was being constantly hugged and comforted, and it was just such a beautiful experience. The story itself is also so heartwarming and beautiful. It's about this girl who she's hard of hearing, and she meets this guy, him, and they just start to get to know each other, and it's like, you know what I mean? Like, like, I can't even talk about it because it's just like, I don't know, like, there's this thing, you know what I mean? And it's like, I love them. I'm so sorry. I cannot talk about this book properly. I can't talk about this story or these characters properly because I love them, okay? I feel like that's all you need to know. If you want to read a story that makes you feel like you're being seen, and it makes you feel like you're being comforted and hugged, and it makes you feel like you're not alone, and it makes your loneliness dissipate just a tiny bit, I think you should read A Sign of Affection, because it's just so good, okay? It's so good. It's so good. So the next question is a book that made you cry. And honestly, this is very shocking to me considering I'm a very emotional person, especially when it comes to reading, but I haven't cried that much reading books this year. Only 2 books have made me cry so far in the year 2024, the year of our Lord. Yeah, the fact that there are only 2 books, I feel like I have to mention both of them. And the very first one that made me cry, like, girl, just looking at it, I don't want to talk about it. It's The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne. You know what? I'm not going to talk about it, okay? I'm not going to talk about it. I won't. I just won't. But basically, this was a gift from a friend. Here it is. Her letter is still there. In The Heart's Invisible Furies, we are following this one character that's called Cyril Avery. We're literally just following him through his entire life, like as soon as he's born, right up until the end. And through his life, he goes through things, and we're just learning about it as he's going through them. He is also a gay man in a country where that is frowned upon. And actually, is it illegal? I don't know if it's illegal, but it's definitely, like, it's something that you can't do in public. Just reading back on my tabs is just making me depressed all over again. Yeah, it's just, you know what I mean? Ooh, I'm a sobbing mess. I'm not even a girl anymore. I'm just a body of tears and grief. Wow, okay. No, that's right. That's fine. So, The Heart's Invisible Furies. I can't believe reading back on my tabs is making me cry. I've lost people before. I've known violence, I've known bigotry, I've known shame, and I've known love. And somehow I always survive. So like, you know what I mean? Like, anyways, The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne is an incredible book about this man and his life and the people and the things that he goes through, and it's a beautiful introspective journey about life and love. And yes, so this is one of the books. Oh my god, I can't believe I'm crying. So this is one of the books that have made me cry in 2024. And then the other book that made me cry is Shark Heart by Emily Havoc, which I did mention back in the honorable mentions of new favorite author. Shark Heart is a love story. The fact that I only have pink and blue tabs should tell you something. We have these two characters, and one of them, they get this really mysterious disease where they are slowly becoming a shark, and it's just a really heartbreaking yet beautiful romance. It's just, I mean, yeah, it's a love story for sure. It's going to break your heart and it's going to piece it back together, but yeah, it's heartbreaking, and we have like different perspectives from these different characters, and like, yeah, it's just going to break your heart, but it's going to be so worth it, and you're going to learn so much about yourself and about life and love and living, because at the end of the day, suffering is part of life, you know what I mean? And I feel like Shark Heart shows us that in such a beautiful way. So yeah, this made me cry too. What can I say? Willingly going through such a devastating ordeal simply because of the overwhelming reality of your love for them. Ren's resilience, strength, bravery, capacity to love, and keep on living with her grief is beautiful and inspiring and heartbreaking. Girl, yeah, I agree, for sure. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just... It's official, I am once again crying. I'm gonna stop, okay? I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop because this is not, you know what I mean? Like, I don't wanna cry on main, not on main. So we're going to move on. We're done crying, it's okay. A book that made you happy, okay. Let's do this. Let's talk about a book that made me happy. And honestly, the first book that came to mind is One Piece. I'm sorry, I have to say it. One Piece is literally the book or the manga series. Gracias, motorita. One Piece is the manga series that was able to make me laugh, and it was able to make me smile when nothing in life could. I started binge reading these volumes when I couldn't walk. Like, I was literally just bedridden for weeks, and it was just like a really painful experience, very lonely experience, and I got so much comfort from One Piece. Obviously, the story is so much more complex, and it's not just there to make you laugh, and it's not just there to entertain you. Like, it goes so much deeper, and it goes into things that you wouldn't even think that a manga series could get into. Even through all of its seriousness, it still has so many incredibly funny moments, especially with Luffy and Zoro and Sanji and Nami and Usopp. Like, just having the Straw Hat crew there to comfort me and to make me laugh and to bring me happiness when I thought that nothing else could. It's just an unforgettable experience. The amount of happiness and joy that reading One Piece this year has brought me is incomparable to anything else. The next question is the most beautiful book that you've received or bought so far in the year. And for this, there is literally only one book that I can mention, and that is Evocation by S.T. Gibson. Like, just, okay, this is, honestly, it's fine, okay? It's not, no es nada del otro mundo. But the thing is, this is not the most beautiful book because of its dust jacket. It's actually because of what's underneath it. So I hope you guys are ready to be blinded by the most stunning book that you're going to see this year. Look at that. Like, that is absolute insanity. Like, how do you, I cannot make this up. How is that so beautiful? You know what I mean? Like, it's just stunning, and I can't stop looking at it. I actually have this displayed on my bookshelf without the dust jacket, and it's just so stunning. It's so beautiful. The last question of this book tag is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? And I actually have another tab in my Google Sheets that's called 24 in 2024, and these are the 24 books that at the beginning of the year I said that I was going to read. And I do have a couple of books that I have yet to read, most of them being classics because obviously those are the ones that take the most time. But just to mention a few, we have Heartstopper, the 5th volume. We have The Prisoner's Throne, which I do have over here. I do have a physical copy, so I'm like one step closer to reading this bad boy. And I also have Metamorphoses by Ovid. So many of you have given me tips on how to read this book because I've shared how scared picking this book up makes me feel, since it's like this huge epic poem and it's just very intimidating for me. But so many of you have been so supportive and that's so kind of y'all, so thank you for that. But I still haven't picked it up because I'm still very scared, but I will. If I'm being honest, I don't know if I'm going to be reading this in 2024, but that's not for lack of trying, okay? That's literally not for lack of trying. I also have to read Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. I allegedly started this, I think like the very last day of May, and I'm only on page 26. There's nothing I can say to defend myself. I don't know why I've been so bad at reading Oliver Twist. I think it's just been so long since I've read a classic. My brain is just it's not tuned to read classic literature at the moment, so that's why it's been a little bit hard for me to continue reading this, but I will read it. It's taking me quite a lot longer than I thought it would. So there we go. I'm gonna have to see what I'm going to be doing about this list because I feel like there are some books here that are just no longer feasible for me to read in 2024. But yeah, that's for me to think about later. Right now, I think we can go to look at my stats. I'm really excited about this. You guys don't understand how excited I am to show you my reading stats for 2024 so far. I think let's go ahead and just start with the Google Sheets one because it's the one that I have open right now. I have an average of 7 books per month, which I'm definitely not keeping up with that in June because, as I mentioned, it's June 15th and I have not read a single book. It's not my fault, okay? I'm in a reading slump. It's really ugly. It's really mean. This is not on me. There's nothing I can do to help it. That average is going to plummet once the month is over. Total pages read, 32,711. Number of DNFs, 0. Yeah, it's really, it takes a lot for me to DNF a book. And apparently none of the books that I've read in 2024 have been bad enough for me to consider a DNF. So, okay, a win is a win. A win is a win. I read 18 books in January, 16 books in February, 18 books in March, 18 books in April. Apparently 18 is my new favorite number because not me reading 18 books in 3 months. Like 18, you know what I mean? You know what I meant. And then 14 books in May, and then 0 books in June. We love that. You know, you never know. You gotta keep them guessing. You're never gonna know what number is next. Yeah, like that's just such a sad graphic because you can just see everything just going downhill. That's horrible. I've read 55 physical books and 29 of them have been ebooks. That's not too bad, not too bad. 31 of them adult, 14 new adult, 39 young adult, and 0 middle grade. See, that makes sense to me because I'm not really that big of a fan of middle grade, so I'm not shocked that I haven't read a single middle grade book so far in 2024. I've read 22 authors that have been new to me. 3 of them have been debut, and 59 of them I've read before. So yeah, I definitely go back to what I know I'm going to like, which is no surprise. Let's see my stats on Storygraph. I love the Storygraph stats, not gonna lie. 84 books. Oh, there's a difference in the page count. I guess it has to do with like the additions and stuff, whatever. My top moods have been adventurous, emotional, and lighthearted. I feel like there's a little bit, oh, and funny. Funny? I don't really. I've read 26 funny books. I'm honestly shocked by that because I don't feel like most of the books that I read are funny. But I guess, sure, okay, I can live with that. The majority of the books, like 52% of the books that I've read in 2024 have a medium pace. Most of the books that I've read have a page number of less than 300 pages. Okay, All right. And only 4% of the books that I've read in 2024 have been nonfiction, which again, it checks out because I'm not the biggest fan of fanfiction? No, nonfiction. The genre that I've read the most from is manga, not surprised. And then we have fantasy, romance, and contemporary. Okay, I can live with that. My most read author, literally, you cannot compare. It's Eiichiro Oda, #1. I wonder why. And then the second one is Sumori Shita, which I think is the author of A Sign of Affection. Yeah, as you can see, once again, the nice little dip in the graph once we reach June. I mean, hopefully that'll change soon. I don't think it will, but here's hoping, you know what I mean? I have an average rating of 4.2, which I'm really happy about. I honestly, I do feel like that's correct because most of the books that I've been reading, I have really been enjoying them. So I'm really happy with that average rating, if I do say so myself. So those were my reading stats for 2024 so far. I feel like I'm really happy with how my reading year has gone so far because as I was going through all of the books that I've read, I have really good memories of those books and I feel like I'm just having a lot of fun with the books that I'm reading. And I feel like since I'm also trying to be more intentional with the books that I'm buying and the books that I'm spending time with, I think because of that, and because I'm prioritizing things that I know I'm going to like, I'm just having a lot more fun with reading lately. I am currently going through a reading slump, so it kind of defeats my point. Yeah, I'm having so much fun, but right now I'm currently on a reading slump, so it kind of it's contradicting itself, but I promise I'm having fun, just not at the moment, okay? And I guess that's valid as well because, you know, it's not always going to be a constant. You know, I do have other hobbies, and right now I feel like I'm having more fun watching anime and K-dramas and doing other stuff than reading. And that's okay, you know, because hobbies fluctuate and I feel like it's normal. And I feel like when you force yourself to do something that you're not really feeling, it seeps the fun out of the hobby, and I never want reading to not be fun for me. So I feel like taking a quick break from reading just for a few, well, it's been 15 days, so yeah, it's been more than a while, but I feel like I'll just give it whatever this reading slump is trying to take away from me. I'll just let her have it, okay? I'm in no rush to read any more books. I do have an incredible TBR at the moment. My physical TBR is stunning, if I do say so myself. And I feel like I just need to build that excitement back up. And I feel like it's working. I'm getting excited to do reading challenges again. And I just have so many incredible books and stories that I want to delve in. But I want to give myself a little bit more time to just kind of you know, do other stuff that is not reading so that I don't feel like I'm forcing myself. So yeah, 2024 in terms of my reading has been an incredible year so far with a 4.2 average rating, 84 books in the bag so far, and so many more to come. Let me know in the comments below how your reading year is going. Have you found your new favorite book? What has been the most disappointing read of 2024 so far? And are there any books that you've read this year that you would love for me to read as well, whether it be in a reading challenge or a reading vlog or just for me to read? Let me know all of it down below. Thank you so much for watching. I really do hope you enjoyed. And if you want to see more from me, if you want more exclusive content, more videos, reading sprints, and monthly readathons and a monthly book club, I also have a Patreon where you can get all of that and more. So if that sounds like something that you'd be interested in, the link is down below. As always, I would love to have you join my found family. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I really do hope you enjoyed, and I hope you're having the loveliest of days whenever you're watching this. Bye!
Hey Jimmy, you nice, keep going.